Agrippina, but you can call me Hex. I know a lot of people kind of associate me with like spooky, witchy things, but really in my heart, I am just a maximalist who loves over the top magical experiences and any excuse to get dressed up. And so, you know what? 'Tis the season, so we're gonna be elves, okay? That's it. We're just gonna be Santa's elves and we're gonna lean in super hard. So here, I'm wearing a dress that I had made last year for Christmas. I had actually made my husband a coordinating shirt to go with it because, of course, we're that couple. Um, and then this year, I thought it would be nice for us to wear them and get some nice family pictures for Christmas because we really haven't done that in a long time. The issue is that I don't really sew clothes for my boys because they're both growing boys and I don't want to spend all of that effort to make clothing for them that they're just going to grow out of immediately. And then also, you know, they're boys, they have their own personalities, they have their own style, and I promise you their style is not whatever this is. So making them clothes was just kind of a no-go right off the bat, but I did want them to be coordinated with me and my husband. So luckily I have a bunch of this fabric left over. I actually bought the entire 8-yard bolt from Joann's. It's just regular quilting cotton. So I do have a couple of weird little half yards like this left over. So what I thought that I would do is that I would make Santa hats, and then, you know, my husband could wear it and it goes with his shirt, and so we can still do other Christmassy things. And then the boys could have them, and then that way we can all coordinate and we're all obviously a group, but they can still kind of be their own little dudes. So let's go ahead and get started. This is a really easy pattern to make. Basically, you're going to take your head measurement wherever you want your hat to sit, and you're going to divide that by 2 and then add an inch. So that's going to be your bottom half. So for example, if you have a 20-inch head measurement, divide by 2 plus 1, so you're going to have 11 inches across the bottom. There you're going to find the center of your triangle and make it as tall as you want, and you're going to connect the top to your bottom corners. I found that about an 8-to-10 ratio was nice, but it's your hat, make it however long you want it to be. So this is a fabric that I just showed you that was left over from my dress, and then I also have this fluffy fabric that was a failed Golden Girls roller derby helmet cover, so I'm going to go ahead and use that since it was in my scrap pile. Because I'm using a patterned fabric, I'm just making sure that everything is straight and lined up. If you're using a solid fabric or something with like a random pattern, you don't have to worry about this so much unless you really want to be concerned about the grain lines. But this is just a fun little accessory, so if you don't want to stress about it, you don't have to. I just wanted my lines to match up. And once you figure out where you want your pattern to be lined up on your hat, go ahead and cut it out. You're going to need 2 of these triangles, so if you do care about pattern matching, you will have to make sure that you match up your fabric for both pieces. So here I've put my first triangle on the fabric. You can see it's pretty well lined up, so I can go ahead and use that to cut out my second triangle, and then that way at least I know that the horizontal lines on my hat will match up. But again, if you're just using a random pattern or solids, you don't even have to worry about this. So here you can see that when I line them up together, the horizontal lines will match, and then it'll look like a continuous line all the way around my hat, which is exactly what I'm going for. My accent headband fabric is really fluffy, so I'm going to make sure to cut it from the wrong side just so I have a nice flat space to work with. Depending on what kind of fabric you're using, you might not even have to worry about this. To figure out how big to cut this piece, you're going to decide how wide you want the headband to be. Take that measurement, multiply it by 2, and then add 1 inch, so that'll be ½ an inch seam allowance on each end. And then for the length, you're going to take your head measurement from before and then add 1 inch. So when you fold this piece over on its long edge, you can see about how wide it'll be, and then it should fit around the base of the hat perfectly. Next, we're going to make the bauble that goes at the end of the hat. I'm just taking a scrap piece. I found this thing that's about 5 inches around. I'm just going to cut a 5-inch circle. It depends on how big or full you want yours to be. I was just kind of eyeballing mine, and this is a easy circle that I had that I could just trace around. So that's why I use this, but if you just eyeball it, it should be fine. So to make the bobble part, you're just going to take your circle and then get a big needle with some thread, and about a half an inch to an inch in from the edge, you're just going to do a really wide running stitch all the way around, so that way you can gather it up into a tight little bundle. And then I'm just going to take my scraps from before and go ahead and kind of use them as stuffing for my little bobble. You can use whatever you have around, cotton balls, extra felt batting, like whatever. And then I'm just going to pull it tight and make kind of this little ball shape, and then just going to secure it. I decided that the seam allowance part where I gathered it is just way too fluffy to be on the inside, so I'm just trimming back some of that bulk. Depending on your fabric, you might not have to do this. Don't even stress, it's going to be on the inside of your hat. No one's going to see it. Next, take your two triangles and you're going to put them right sides together. If you do have a pattern, just make sure that you match it up. Otherwise, just kind of eyeball it. It's going to be fine. Because I did have a pattern to match, I decided to pin up both sides before worrying about the top point. So I'm just going to open up the top there and I'm going to stick my bobble in, trying to make sure that the seam allowance that I made on my bobble matches up to that half-inch seam allowance that I built in on those triangles. Starting at the bottom of your triangles, using your half-inch seam allowance that you've built in, just go ahead and sew all the way up to the point, making sure that you catch the little bobble, turn at your pivot point, and sew all the way back down to the other end. You can go ahead and flip your Santa hat right side out, and you can see that it's actually starting to look like a proper Santa hat. Now we just need to take our long headband piece and we're going to fold it and do the short ends together and just sew those together at a half-inch seam allowance. So now you're going to take this big circle that you just made and you're going to fold it long ways. So what's going to happen is you're basically folding it in half, and that's going to be the width of your hat band. And the fluffy or outside part is going to be kind of on the inside and the outside. So wrong sides together. Now you're going to take your Santa hat and your folded over headband and you're going to pin the band part to the right side of the hat all the way around. Once you have it pinned down, you're going to go ahead and take it back to your machine and just sew all along that pinned bottom edge at a half-inch seam allowance. And now you're just going to flip the headband down so the seam allowance is all inside, and there you go. You have a Santa hat. Super easy, literally less than an hour, and I have an entire pile of these hats now. So if you make your own clothes or you have your own scraps, really easy to make something that coordinates with what you have. Plus you can customize it. Like I have this going kind of at a little like a little vintage hat kind of sat on my head, but if you want to have a big fat slouchy one or super long one, it's so easy to kind of adjust this template to be whatever you want, to fit whatever your style is. Actually, to tell the truth, like I was planning on just making my husband and the boys wear these, but like, okay, look, I had made this little fascinator because we are having our pictures done at Disneyland, and so it's really clipped in there. It's really like roller coaster proof. But now I gotta check the clock and see if I have enough time to, I don't know, what do you guys think? Winter Wonderland. Anyway, I'm off topic. If you happen to like these, I hope you make one. Please let me know. Tag me on Instagram at Helena Hex. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching and have a happy holidays. Thanks.